Right. Okay. So let's accept the fact then that this is big organized crime that out there. It's not Vladimir Putin trying to steal my Concorde model from behind me or something like that.
He
It's
might be doing that to be
right.
fair.
Could be, but it's big. It's organized. So if we can't rely on others to remove the problem for us, that puts the emphasis back on us to do something about this. So what should we be doing to deal with the threat?
So I think there's a couple of things that we need to appreciate. And the first thing that I think is really important is that for all organizations, our humans interact with our technology. And so it's really, really important that we identify who our high risk users are.
Right.
So for example, who has access to the commercially sensitive data? So you've worked for some very big companies here. You'll know that there'll be some R&D data, there'll be some very commercially sensitive information about new products that is probably incredibly valuable to competitors, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you could intercept that and you could send that out, you would make a lot of money. So it's not necessarily just the people who have access to your personal data that you hold in your company, but also the commercially sensitive information that is really important for your business as well. So those individuals need to be identified and they need to have specific training to make sure that they are aware that they are likely to be a target to attackers just because of their job. So that's the first thing. We also need to identify where our critical assets are at all times, because most organizations don't actually know where all their data is and who's got access to it. And the final thing we really need to do is have a plan. So if we get attacked, what do we do? How do we handle it? Who do we tell? How do we get the message out to our customers? We need to have that plan, because otherwise we're in a lot of trouble if we do get attacked.
Right. Okay. So identify the high risk users, identify the critical assets that might be hacked, and have a plan. So what does a plan look like?
So in your plan, you want to look at how you would identify what's happened to your company, but also you want to look at how you're going to put communications out to the public at large, to your customers, to your suppliers, to your third parties, and also to your staff. Because if we look at some cyber attacks like Maersk, the big shipping company, what they did really, really well was they actually communicated to their staff what had happened very early on. They were very transparent, and they said to them, this is what's happened. This is how we want you to handle the customers. So your staff need to be invested in and be your strong suit, really, when it comes to being in a cyber attack, because they're the people who are communicating to the public and to your customers.
It's interesting, actually. I did a session a while back with some emergency services people. It was actually a fire chief at the time. And they talked about the way they approach a crisis situation. And interestingly enough, they say the first thing you do is you look after the people. Of course you do. You would expect that. But then interestingly, he said, the next thing you do is stop it spreading. Before you try and treat it, before you try and stop it, before you try and go to the cause, you stop it spreading. And it sounds like this is a similar approach. Get at the communication out so you can get out to everybody and stop it getting worse before you go in and actually treat it.
Right. Shut your fire doors in the same way that we would for a fire. Shut the fire doors, stop the spread of the damage. And that's it's very similar to running a fire drill, actually. Thinking about how you would cope with that it's a similar process. It
is. And you can, as I say, you can do the witch hunt later on to find out whose fault it was, but don't bother with that for the moment. Get on with actually stopping it spreading first.